Maslow, a renowned economist, prioritizes human needs as follows. Firstly, he says basic needs like food and shelter must be satisfied first. The next to be satisfied are safety and security. The next category has got to do with love and belonging. The next one has got to do with self-esteem, which is the need for respect among your peers, your community. And the last one to be satisfied has got to do with self-actualization, which is really about the desire to achieve your full potential as a human being. Now, as it relates to the needs of our country, it is my contention that the ordering of our needs is grossly inaccurate. My observation is that we seem to emphasize enjoyment of rights even at the expense of our national security. This does not make sense because we need a country that is stable and sound so that before we can even talk about enjoyment of rights. Now, the following incidents leave no doubt in my mind that our national security is under threat. The July 2021 mass looting and uprising, the military training camps identified at various sites across the country. Are you talking about the tavern mass shootings, armed robberies at police stations, and cash heists all over the show? And of course, the recent food poisoning at Spaza shops that are operated by foreign nationals. When it comes to national security, I believe that one of the mistakes that we make is to look at national security in isolation from the issues of illegal immigration, which is linked to the recent issue of food poisoning at Spaza shops. It is my contention that these issues deserve to be looked at in their interconnectedness, dialectically. Now, let me look at the drivers of our shambolic approach to national security. Firstly is the declining capacity of the South African state and our high degree of tolerance for lawlessness by the government and society in general. Another one is corruption at various levels of our society. Another case in point is the ideologically driven approach to looking at illegal immigration. Depending on whether you are on the left or on the right, the left will tend to bury their heads in the sand and turn a blind eye to the concerns and the negative impact of illegal immigration. Meanwhile, the right tends to turbocharge the impact and quantum of illegal immigration. And what is required really is an approach that is based on evidence, data insights, as well as carrying along the perception of our communities. Now, as an enterprise development and training practitioner who has worked extensively with the Spaza shop sector across the country, I have made the following observations: that foreign-owned Spaza shops are not just a one-man or family-owned business, as is the case with locally owned shops. Rather, they are part of a national and international, potentially criminal network involved in the financing, establishment, and operation of a network of Spaza shops throughout the country. And they are amassing huge sums of money. This network operates outside the formal banking system. There is human trafficking involved to bring in foreign personnel to man these shops. There is smuggling of counterfeit goods and insourcing of grocery items, even through illegal manufacturing. Most of the Spaza shop operators are heavily armed due to sporadic flare-up of tension between them and locals. The network seems to operate along religious lines. Again, these foreign tuck shops embrace unhygienic and unethical business practices, which are the order of the day. There is also uncompetitive behavior directed at pushing out South Africans from the market. This network is not about your refugee trying to eke a living, but rather it's about crowding out locals and maintaining dominance of the township and rural economy. The dominance of foreign-owned shops is not just a coincidence or entrepreneurial acumen. It is a thoroughly orchestrated strategy bordering on unfair business practices and criminality. South Africans are not completely against the participation of foreigners, but they are against unfair business practices. If I must tell you, in Freedom Park, I've seen a local business association which had foreigners from Mozambique as members who owned tuck shops in those areas. Again, it has become a common thing to see police van, even health inspectors going into these foreign-owned shops to collect their cold drink money. And this introduces a measure of bias against South Africans. Now, what is the impact of these developments? There is endangering of the health of the most vulnerable citizens in townships and rural areas who have got little choice but to buy what is conveniently available to them. There is wholesale displacement of locals from the township and rural economy. The dream of economic justice of our communities is being permanently deferred. Now, what I mean is that communities that were dispossessed during apartheid are being dispossessed of the little that was left to them by this is happening because of foreign syndicates. There's also an escalation of the national security threat. Think about it. If you place a sector that is worth over 150 billion in the hands of people who have not been properly vetted, who may have connects to international terror organizations, you are definitely asking for trouble. This is escalating the unemployment problem as well. And mind you, here is the kicker. When you take away economic rights of communities, you take away their voice. For example, in the hospitality and tourism sector, where most employees are foreigners, South Africans can only watch on TV as people who know nothing about their country and their culture misrepresent them during interaction with foreigners. Now, generally speaking, concerns about behavior of any foreigner are promptly dismissed as xenophobic by the media and the elite. This is because the elite is insulated from the consequences of open borders and illegal immigration. This elite is more concerned about how it will be viewed by its international peers outside the country than addressing the democratic deficit as far as economic justice is concerned. It is mind-boggling to observe that a society that has failed to address the existing inequality is creating conditions to aggravate competition for scarce resources between locals and foreigners. Now, this begs the question, why have we not been proactive in dealing with the foreign operated Spaza issue, given the fact that we have been grey-listed for illicit money flows? Why is the Competition Commission not involved here to investigate unfair business practices? Why has it taken so long to require these foreign-owned Spaza shops to register for tax? Why are we not concerned about the national security threat posed by the Spaza shops? Why have we failed to enforce the investment threshold of 5 million that is required for foreigners to operate a business in South Africa? Finally, can I, as a South African, even dream of running a Spaza shop in Pakistan? And fellow South Africans, are we not afraid that our country can end up like the DRC, where the DRC is coming from, where foreign interests start joking and laying claim to certain economic sectors in South Africa, having militias and destabilizing the country? These are important questions that we need to deal with as we tackle this issue of Spaza shops. Because for me, these are not just economic matters. The Spaza shop saga also has a very strong element of national security. It's high time that we prioritize, and as citizens, we must demand that this issue is tackled as soon as possible before it can destabilize our country. Think about it. We cannot afford to fail as South Africa, because outside the continent of Africa, we are not welcome. We have got to make sure that our country succeeds, because we do not have a second passport. We belong to South Africa, and we must make South Africa succeed and contribute to the success of Africa.